All right, welcome back to Clash of Culture. We're going to continue with another video as we preview the 2023 college football season. Today, we're going to predict the best games of this upcoming season, games that are on the regular schedule. But before we get into that, like always, we thank you guys for your love and support. We ask that you continue that love and support. So if you've made it this far, please press the like and subscribe button. Keep that love going as we continue our press to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys truly. And before we get into the video, we're going to do a little trivia. So last time I had the trivia question, I asked Steven to name all of the awards and who they were named after. We're going to continue in that same line of questioning. I'm going to ask him to name the people that won the awards last year. So we went over all the awards. Now I'm asking last year's winner.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so here I can name some. Okay.
No, wait. So Caleb Williams obviously got the Heisman.
Yes.
I would say the top senior quarterback, which was the Johnny Unitas. I'm gonna take a guess and say Hendon Hooker.
No.
No. Okay, wait a minute. Let me think. Who else was a senior quarterback last year? Couldn't have been Bryce Young. Couldn't have been Will Levis. Couldn't have been Anthony Richardson. Is this player in the NFL?
The player is in the NFL.
He was drafted.
I don't know if he was drafted. You definitely know him.
DTR?
He was drafted. Not DTR.
I don't know who it is. Who is it?
Max Dugan.
Oh, dang, bro. That was a gimme. All right. Let me see the running back. Blake Corum?
The running back was not Blake Corum.
It wasn't Deuce Vaughn.
And that's the dope walker. So it wasn't Blake Corum.
Running back. Is this player in the NFL?
This player is.
Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson.
Okay, Bijan Robinson.
Okay.
Wide receiver was Hyatt. Biletnikoff was Hyatt.
Yeah.
Will Anderson got the Defensive Player of the Year award.
Well, the Lombardi, yeah.
The Lombardi.
And the Bronco Nagurski.
Okay. What other awards am I missing?
All right.
I'm not gonna know who got the punter and the kicker. I'm not gonna know that for sure.
That's fine. Who won the Dick Butkus?
That's the linebacker?
Dick Butkus is the outstanding linebacker.
Okay. It's not Will Anderson.
No.
Is he in the SEC?
No. But we've talked about him.
Dick Butkus. Who won that award? Who won that award last year? Couldn't. We've talked about this guy?
Yeah, recently.
He's not in the SEC.
Within the last 2 weeks on a video that we did recently. He's in the NFL.
Oh, he's in the NFL. Okay.
Now he's in the
NFL. Okay. I'm thinking, okay, so let me think. Is it Jack Campbell?
Jack Campbell.
Okay. Interior offensive lineman, I'm not going to know that one either.
That's fine.
Did Broderick Jones win any award?
Broderick Jones? No. Who
won the interior offensive lineman award?
I don't know how you say his name, but the guy from Michigan.
Oh, I don't know his name either.
Alawan to me.
Okay, what other awards am I missing then?
All right. Outstanding defensive back.
Not Forbes, is it?
Nope.
Not Forbes. Christian Gonzalez?
No.
Is this player in the NFL?
Let me see. Yes. 6th round pick.
I don't know.
So this one I wouldn't have got.
Who is it?
Travius Hodges Tomlinson.
Yeah, I wasn't about to get that. What school did he go to?
TCU.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that one.
Yeah, those are a tight end, but I know you know that.
Who, Brock Bowers?
Brock Bowers. Who won Coach of the Year?
Had to have been the guy from TCU, right?
Yeah, Sonny Dykes.
Okay.
All right, that's most of them.
Okay, it wasn't bad. I was about 50% there. That was kind of tough, though. I'm not going to lie. Because some of those players like Hodges Robinson or whatever his name was, I wouldn't have known that.
Hodges Tomlinson.
Especially a 6th-round pick. There's no way I would have got that. But nonetheless, to kind of get into these games, so I have mine in order of weeks.
So
you tell me
this.
No, it doesn't matter. That's how I'll do mine. So, before we get started, if your team's not named, just know that, it's 13, 14 weeks in college football. There's like 7 to 8 good games every week. So we didn't want to have this video be 3 hours long and name every single good game. So we kind of kept it between 5 and 7 or 5 and 8. So my first, let me pull up my screen first, that way you guys can see, and I'll just have like the game on it. My first game that I have kind of penciled in as one of the key matchups is the LSU Florida State game. Those of you guys who watched that game last year, was really good. Florida State barely won that one on like a last second missed field goal, I believe it was. But this game is going to be really good. I think it has really, really big playoff implications. Obviously, LSU is looking like a playoff contender. Florida State's looking like a playoff contender. Both these teams are either the number 1 or number 2 as far as their conference favorite. So like the favorites win the conference. I believe Florida State is either the favorite or behind Clemson, and LSU is either the favorite or behind Alabama or Georgia. So I think this game is going to be really good. This is probably honestly the best game of the first week. I think that's probably the consensus pick. The North Carolina, South Carolina game is going to be pretty good, but I feel like this game was a no-brainer. Hopefully it comes down to the wire again. Both these teams are on the rise. Obviously, we know about LSU with what they brought back, and then we know what Florida State brought back. So this was my first game. It was week 1.
Yeah, mine as well. This game in Orlando, like Steven mentioned, all the implications, 2 teams that we are very high on. And by we, I mean the college football world. I think these are both going to be top 10 teams that are bringing back a lot that maybe not always lived up to expectations, but the expectation this year is that this is the year that they do live up to those expectations. That both of these teams kind of turn it around from some down years. They showed nice progress last year. They showed some potential last year, and that this is the year they cash in on that potential. So we talked about both teams, the quarterbacks coming back and the players coming back. So no need to rehash that. This game is in Orlando on week 1, that Sunday game. So it should be a rocking crowd. And I expect this game to come down to the wire as well. If you guys kind of read the writing on the wall, I think I had both of these teams in my Final Four. I have both of these teams winning their conference. So this should be a fun game.
Definitely. So I know you said this was your first one as well, so I'll go ahead and do your second one.
Yeah, I didn't do them in order.
Okay. That's fine. Just let me know what your next one is, and I'll pull it up on the screen.
So that's going to throw me a little bit, but I kind of did. Now, all of my games, I suspect, are going to impact the playoff picture. What teams make it to the playoffs? As I was kind of talking about this with Steven, I wanted to do arbitrary games that maybe people aren't really thinking about. But I think there's so many games that they just are going to impact the playoff picture as we look at college football this next year. So next game is also going to include a SEC team. That is that Georgia-Tennessee game. Again, I suspect that whatever team wins that game not only wins the SEC, obviously wins the East, but also wins the SEC.
Okay, let me pull that up for you really quick. Yeah, so I do not have that game on my list just because I kind of figured you were going to have it. Okay. And I tried my best to kind of I had like 3 games on here that I had to remove because I thought you were going to have them. Okay, so just so that way we have different things to talk about. Yeah. But I definitely think this is going to be one of the most highly anticipated games. It was one of the most highly anticipated games last year. Mm-hmm. Kind of surprised that Georgia's such a favorite on ESPN's, matchup prediction. 78-22 is kind of crazy to me. I think it's going to be a closer game than it was last year. Obviously, it was a 2-touchdown game. They kind of pulled away late. But I think the game's going to be closer than it was last year, even though, we saw Hyatt, Hyatt and Hooker. They both left, so some question marks surrounding them. But there's also question marks surrounding Georgia. Obviously, they kind of answered those question marks last year from what they lost in 2021. But I think this game's going to be a lot closer. Obviously, I think the winner of this game decides who goes to the SEC championship game. But I don't think necessarily the loser of this game can't get into the playoffs. So it's just hard to say. But I anticipate whoever wins this game is probably going to go undefeated. If not, they'll both be 11-1 or whatever the case may be. But this was definitely a good one to pick. My second game, those of you guys who know me could probably guess the game I'm going for here. 1 second. I got to find it. For this game, I went Clemson or Florida State at Clemson.
Yeah.
The reason why I chose this game, obviously I'm a big Clemson fan, but I just think that this game has big time implications for the ACC. I think the winner of this game wins the ACC. And previously, when we did the Clemson and the Florida State previews, I had previously said that I think they're going to match up again. But when we got to the Louisville prediction, after we saw the Louisville schedule and stuff like that, I'm still going to stand on that. I do think Louisville has a really good season. And I think it's going to come down to those three teams. I think if Louisville stumbles to some teams that I don't expect them to, then we could see a rematch between Florida State and Clemson. But I think if Louisville takes care of business, not having to play either of these two teams, I think they can end up playing the winner of this game in the ACC title game. But I would still favor each of these teams over Louisville. But I think this game is going to be really good. Obviously, like the last 6 or 7 years or so, Clemson has kind of washed Florida State. Last year's game was a lot closer. You were actually at that game, but it was a lot closer last year. The score didn't look like it was close, but it was definitely a close game for those of you guys who watched.
I think it was. I think Clemson was up early, and then Florida State kind of rallied back. So I think late in the game, I think the final score was actually pretty close. It was like 35-31, I think.
Okay, I just remember it wasn't close. I was watching, so maybe I'm misremembering it. But hopefully this game is a good game. Hopefully it's a close one. Florida State, I hate them out of everyone in the country. I hate them more than South Carolina. So I'm hoping we win this game, obviously. But this one, it would be kind of disingenuous if I didn't have this game on my top 5, just because obviously I'm a Clemson fan, and I think this game decides the ACC conference champion.
Now, I am shocked as I look at this matchup predictor how big of favorites Clemson is.
Yeah, I don't know. There has to be some way they do this because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I almost suspect that Florida State is going to come in ranked higher. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Again, kind of going over games that I think are going to mean a lot. My next game is USC Oregon.
Do you know what week that is so I can go to it?
Oh, my goodness, I don't.
Okay, that's fine. I'll find it.
If you just click on one of their schedules.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, almost a 50-50 matchup.
Yeah, we've talked about Washington and Oregon State and UCLA and a bunch of other teams in the Pac-12, which again, I think Pac-12 Utah, I think Pac-12 is going to be good football. But I think this is the game of the Pac-12 season. I think if the Pac-12 is to have a team in, it's going to be one of these two teams. And I think this is going to be the game, or the Pac-12 championship, if both of these teams play again, will be the game that determines who the Pac-12 representative is if they are to get one in the playoffs this year.
Definitely. And I'm seeing the date on this as well, of this game. And I'm pretty sure that's when you're going to be out here, so we might have to catch this one.
Oh!
I just saw that.
Oh, yes.
And then Utah's playing at Washington the day after, so that'll be kind of two good back-to-back.
That may be – that may have to happen.
But this is definitely a good one. Those of you guys who watched the preview for the USC and Oregon ones, I'm pretty sure that each of us – I think you had Oregon winning the conference.
Yes.
And I had USC winning the conference.
Yes.
So this is going to be a good game, obviously. These are probably the two favorites to win the Pac-12, with Utah right behind them, even though, like we talked about before, Utah's highly disrespected coming off of back-to-back championships in the conference. But that's another topic. My next game is the Week 6 Red River Rivalry, Oklahoma at Texas. The reason why I chose this game, it's kind of obvious. I mean, I think this is going to be, behind – am I at Week 6? Let me find it really quick before I keep talking.
Is it Week 4 or is it?
No, it's right here. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
So I think this game is an obvious one to choose. Texas coming in as a little bit of a favorite, but I think when you talk about college football rivalries, this is probably a top 4 rivalry, top 3 maybe. I mean, you obviously have Ohio State, Michigan, but maybe Alabama, Auburn, maybe. But then you have Oklahoma, Texas right there in the mix. And I think this is going to be the first year in a long time where, obviously, last year Oklahoma was down. But I think this is the first year where both teams are going to be sort of relevant again. You look at the prices on these tickets, $380. That is, I mean, of the games we've looked at so far, that's the most expensive tickets. But I think this game is
starting it.
Yeah, and I think this game is also going to have really big playoff implications. Obviously, huge implications in the Big 12. So we'll just have to see there. But I mean, I think this is going to be one of the better games in all of the season. Kind of like what we saw with the Florida State LSU game last year. It was a very early game, but it was still a game of the year candidate in week 1. So I think this week 6 matchup is going to be a really good one.
All right, my next game, and I don't know what week this is, but again, a game that I think is going to sum up, especially the SEC West, is Bama LSU.
Okay. And that's in week 10, and that's my game as well. So that's my 4th game I have as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about LSU, and as I said, I suspect Bama's going to be a little down because of losing. I thought Bryce Young and Will Anderson meant so much to that offense and defense, respectively. Filling their role, it's going to really depend on what Milroe can do. But I was talking to my dad this week, and he reminded me that, hey, that's Nick Saban over there, and Nick Saban isn't the type of coach that's going to have 2 down years in a row. So I suspect no matter what happens, if Alabama's down or up, they're going to have a say on how this college football season goes in some way, in some form. And I think this is the game. If LSU is going to be good, this is one of those games. We talked about the Florida State game already, but this is one of those games they have to win. They have to win. I think all the pressure is on LSU because if you're going to be relevant this season, you have to beat Alabama this season. And again, if Alabama is going to be Alabama, a national championship contender, this is a game they have to win.
Yeah, definitely. This game is definitely going to be circled on pretty much every college football fan's schedule. I think realistically, the winner of this game is probably going to get in the playoffs. I mean, assuming that, they take care of business against every other opponent. But, I mean, each of these 2 teams are the favorites to win that division.
The West,
and then
yeah.
obviously you have Georgia, Tennessee on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to see, but this is definitely a good one as well. My number 4, since you took that one, or since we had the same one.
Oh, you had that too?
I'm pretty sure that we have the same game this week as well. We might not, but I have Washington at USC.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it really quick. Is this not week 10? Oh no, that was week 6. Week 10. But yeah, I have Washington at USC. Another high stakes match in the Pac-12. There we go. I think, oh my God, USC is a huge favorite. I don't know how I would kind of judge this game right now. Earlier in the previews, I said USC is my favorite, but after we kind of got to the rest of the previews and looking down all the roster makeups and everybody's schedule, I think Washington is a sleeper as well to win the conference. As me and my dad have said throughout, the last month and a half of doing these previews, the Pac-12 is probably the deepest conference in college football this year. Yeah. When you talk about complete teams, you have USC, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Oregon State, UCLA, and there's a lot of average teams as well. You get Colorado, Arizona, Washington State. So there's a lot of good teams. So it's hard to say how a lot of these games are going to shake up, especially when you have true Heisman contenders at quarterback in 4 or 5 of these teams. So it's kind of hard. And I think any team can win on any given Saturday. So it'll just come down to who prepared the best that week. But I think this game is another one that's scheduled on my list as far as must-watch games. And I think this game has major playoff implications as well.
All right, week 1, go to week 1, a game that I think is going to be one of the best, one of the most hyped is the Colorado TCU game. For multiple reasons. One, I don't know what the Big 12 is going to be. And I don't know what TCU is going to be, right? They obviously lost. We talked about Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston. They lost a lot of the parts that enabled them to get to the national championship last year. Obviously, Dion, Coach Sanders, Coach Prime has turned over that Colorado roster. I think we all can suspect that they're going to have some growing pains, that there's going to be a process to them being relevant, and that may not happen this year. But this is week 1. Week 1 is when everybody comes in optimistic. This will be their first game. I think the hype is going to be there, and I think this is going to answer 2 questions for us. One, even if Colorado loses, do they fight? Do they look like a better team than the 1-11 team that they were last year? Is this a team that we're going to see improvements from? And then for TCU, is this a team that's going to make noise in the Big 12? Like I said, you can probably go 5 or 6 teams deep in the Big 12 that all legitimately have hope of winning the Big 12 championship this year, being the Big 12 champion. But TCU, even though they were not the Big 12 champion, was the playoff representative. They are kind of the king of the hill right now. And the question is, did they lose so much that they're going to get knocked off that hill? This is, I think, again, week 1. We're going to find that out very early.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be a good one. I'm hoping game day goes to this one,
Yes.
just to kind of not sort of get rid of the Colorado hype, but no, it's not to say it like a bad way, but like we've heard so much about Colorado in the offseason. So I feel like of the games that's slated for week 1, this is like the obvious pick. It'd be good for, ratings and viewership. So I think the game day is going to end up going there. I hope it's a good game. I don't want Colorado to get blown out, but I hope it's a competitive game. You never want to see blowouts when you're watching a game and you turn it off by the second quarter. So I'm hoping that this game is a good game. How many more games do you have left? I only have one left.
Yeah, I have one more.
Okay, so I'm assuming we have the same one.
Yes.
So we have different viewpoints in this game, though. So mind you, let me pull up the game first. I'm sure that
and that's it. That's the name, the game. Yeah. You don't have to call it nothing else.
I'm assuming that everyone knows what game I'm going for here. Maybe if I find it, right here. So it's the Ohio State at Michigan this year.
You had to go to their page to find it. You couldn't click on Ohio State's.
But yeah, I think this game. Those of you guys who've been watching the previews, like I said, I'm beating it like a drum.
Well, Pat, before you even get into this, now this, to me, more than any other thing is shocking. This matchup predictor, and again,
I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how they're doing
all Ohio State gear, I don't think there's any way that we are 70% favorites to win this game, coming off the fact that we've lost this game 2 years in a row. This game is in Michigan, and what Michigan is returning. Listen, I'm the biggest. I told you guys I think Ohio State's winning the national championship, but there's no way we're 71% favorites. Maybe they haven't calibrated that this year yet, but there's no way.
Yeah, and like I said, in the Michigan preview, I was not a fan of Michigan last year. I didn't believe in what they were doing. I didn't think they were going to make it very far. They proved me wrong. I'm coming back into this year. They're bringing back nearly everything. Yeah. And they are my favorites to win it all. And I think they're the most complete team. As you guys who saw the Michigan video, I think they're the most complete team. I think this is going to be the best game this year. It's probably the most hyped and most important game this year. I think the winner of this game is an automatic bid in. And I think the loser of this game is, probably not going to get in, depending on how the rest of their season goes. So I think this game is going to be a good one, man. You have obviously McCarthy, you got Corum, then you got McCord, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. There's a lot of storylines. And I also think it's a big test for Ryan Day, because I think if Ryan Day loses for a third straight time, there's going to be some serious questions about replacing him, even though he has made the playoffs a few times, or was it just once?
No, he's made it twice for sure.
Okay.
Because they beat Clemson, and then they obviously made it last year.
Okay, yeah. So I think there's going to be some serious, talks about replacing him. And when you think about it, let's say they go 11-1 and lose to Michigan. The fact that you're trying to replace a coach for that shows how important this game is. And I think that's why this game. I think that shows why this game needs to be highlighted as one of the most, anticipated or best games this year.
Yeah, this is to me the game of the year. And I don't think there's much question. I suspect that these teams, and depending on how other things break and shake, if I had to bet, this is going to be a top 3 matchup game. This is going to be, as I've said, to me, the team that wins the national championship is going to be the team that wins this game. I think Steven in his top 4 had both of them getting in. I don't. Obviously, I had Michigan at 5, but I think if Ohio State loses, they don't get in, because whoever loses this game does not get to play in the Big Ten championship. Well, probably, outside of other crazy things happening, that team will not be in the Big Ten championship. That team will not have an opportunity to win the Big Ten title. There are so many storylines, and again, all that Michigan's bringing back. our ability to play big boy football with Michigan, right? That Ohio State has gone more to the outside, spread them out, 4 or 5 receivers, and out athleting people because we've been able to get athletes as recruits. Michigan tried to outdo us in that and had a long stretch where they couldn't win. Michigan went back, and again, kudos to Coach Harbaugh, and said, I don't think those boys are tough in the middle. And they fortified that middle. They have and have had strong defensive lines, strong offensive lines, power running games, and they've just forced the ball down our throat, and we have not been able to stop it. So there have been questions about Ohio State's toughness, especially in the trenches, especially as Michigan has continued to do what it is they've wanted to do with the football against us. And then our ability to play tough and play mistake-free football. Like I said, I think whoever comes out of the quarterback battle between Devin Brown and Kyle McCord is going to be good. I think we have too many weapons, but I think our season all comes down to this game. I'm going to be probably phone off, and anybody who knows me personally, if Ohio State loses a game, we're not going to have a show probably for 2 weeks. All right. I don't talk to nobody. All right. I'm in a state of depression. So for my own mental health, I need Ohio State to win this game this year.
And it's actually crazy you say that. I remember last year when Clemson lost to Notre Dame, I believe it was, where I did not want to do a show. I did not want to do one. That's the worst. But we'll have to see. Neither of our teams can all go 15-0, so one of us is going to be up here sick. One of us, if not both of us.
Push through, or we're going to have to pre-tape something.
But nonetheless, that was Clash of Cultures predictions for the best kind of 5 to 7 games of the year this year. If you guys like the content, make sure to like, comment down below, show us your guys' appreciation, show us what games do you think are going to be the good games. Also, give us some video ideas down below if you guys are trying to see something in particular. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. Did you have something to say?
Hey, quick point. Yeah. So obviously we highlighted a lot of the big games. Let us know if there's some game that maybe is not on people's radar that we may be missing, and college football fans may be missing, that we're not paying attention to that we should be. I'm excited to hear and see those games that obviously, we all know the Ohio States and Oregons and USCs and Michigans and Alabamas, but is there some game that maybe we're not checking for as college football fans?
No, definitely. But we will see you guys again tomorrow. And as always, thank you guys for showing us the love and support. Peace out.